Hey everyone, and welcome to Real Talk Grimm Edition. I'm your host Josh, and this is the place where we dive into the dark, whimsical world of the Brothers Grimm. Whether you're a longtime fan of fairy tales or just starting to discover them, you're in the right spot. Each episode, I'll read a classic Grimm's fairy tale and then explore its deeper meanings, lessons, and how it may apply to our modern culture. From the well-known stories like Cinderella to more obscure ones that still carry a punch, we're going to get into what makes these tales so timeless and sometimes downright eerie. But this isn't just about reading stories. It's about peeling back the layers and looking at what these stories really teach us. The Grimm brothers didn't shy away from showing the darker side of life. And in many ways, those darker elements hold some of the most powerful messages. Whether it's about good versus evil, human nature, or just the consequences of choices. So whether you're here for the ride of a familiar story or to uncover something you haven't heard before, stick with me as we explore the fascinating and sometimes twisted world of Grimm's fairy tales. Today, we'll be discussing the Old Beggarwoman. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and enjoy the tale. The Old Beggarwoman. There was once an old woman, but thou hast surely seen an old woman go a-begging before now. This woman begged likewise, and when she got anything she said, "May God reward you." The beggar-woman came to a door, and there by the fire a friendly rogue of a boy was standing warming himself. The boy said kindly to the poor old woman, as she was standing shivering thus by the door, "Come, old mother, and warm yourself." She came in, but stood too near the fire so that her old rags began to burn, and she was not aware of it. The boy stood and saw that, but he ought to have put the flames out. Is it not true that he ought to have put them out? And if he had not any water, then he should have wept all the water in his body out of his eyes, and that would have supplied two pretty streams with which to extinguish them. All right, well that was the Old Beggarwoman, and what a short one. But I think there's a lot to unpack. On the surface it's simple, an old woman is begging, a boy lets her warm herself by the fire. And then, well, things take a dark turn. She catches fire, and instead of jumping in to help, the boy just watches. And then, in this sort of strange, almost guilt-inducing way, the narrator basically scolds him, and by extension us, saying he should have done whatever it took to stop it, even if that meant crying so hard that he could put out the flames. So what's the takeaway here? What is this story really trying to say? Well, I think the moral is pretty simple. Good intentions aren't enough. At first glance, the boy seems kind. He doesn't ignore the old woman. He invites her in. He lets her warm up. But when things go wrong, when real danger happens, he sort of freezes. He doesn't step up, and then that's where the real message kicks in. Good intentions don't mean much if you don't follow through. So think about it. How often do we see something bad happening and kind of just hope someone else will handle it? Maybe we feel sorry. Maybe we even wish we could do something, but we don't actually take action. And that's the problem. The story makes it clear. Seeing suffering and doing nothing is as bad as causing the suffering in the first place. Then there's this idea of bystander apathy, and that's where it connects to the modern world. Now, it's becomes really relevant, this whole concept of standing by while something bad happens. It's got the name bystander apathy, and it's a very real psychological phenomenon. It's the moment when a person sees someone in trouble but doesn't step in because they assume someone else will get to it. And we see it all the time. So let's break down a few places where this still plays out today. So there's some social issues. We ignore those in need. Think about homelessness. How many times have you walked past someone struggling on the street and just kept going? Maybe you felt bad. Maybe you even thought, man, I should help them. But poof, you're on to the next thing. And that's exactly what this story is warning against. The boy by the fire. He's all of us when we choose to feel bad but do nothing. And second, there's online culture, things like cyberbullying and social media silence. So on the internet, have you ever seen someone getting bullied or harassed online? Maybe in a comment section or on social media. It's easy to see something awful and think, man, that's messed up, but not actually say anything. And just like in the story, when we stay silent, we're letting that fire spread. How about the workplace and everyday life, ignoring those injustices? And this one's a little more subtle, but it's everywhere. Have you ever had a coworker you knew was being treated unfairly but stayed quiet because you just didn't want to get involved? Or you saw someone being rude to a cashier or a server, but you kind of just awkwardly looked away? Well, that's the same idea. Seeing something wrong and not stepping in. So what's the lesson? Well, I think it's pretty simple. It's be the one who acts. The story isn't just this weird little moral about fire safety. It's more of a wake-up call. It's saying, don't be that boy by the fire. Don't just stand there when someone needs help. If you can step in, do it. And even if you feel powerless, even if you don't think you can make a difference, try anyway. Because at the end of the day, kindness isn't about feeling bad for someone. Kindness is about action. So basically, don't just be a bystander. Be the one who actually steps up. And that's going to wrap up this episode of Real Talk Grimm Edition. I hope you enjoyed diving into the story of the Old Beggarwoman and talking about its deeper meanings as much as I did. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe so you don't just miss any future episodes. And if you have any thoughts on today's tale, whether you agree, you disagree, or you just have your own thoughts, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out on social media at Real Talk on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Or send me an email to therealrealtalk@gmail.com. Let me know what you think or just say hi. And if you're enjoying the show, consider leaving a rating or a review. It really helps others find us and it keeps the conversation going. But as always, thank you for listening, and until next time, stay curious, question the stories around you, and keep exploring the darker side of fairy tales.